The Xbox 720 versus the Sony PS4. Can't we all just get along? I mean, come on, guys. I mean, the new generation of consoles is upon us. Can't we just shake hands and agree to disagree that both companies, Microsoft and Sony, are gonna deliver and provide good entertainment for both fans? I mean, I'm seeing all these comments, all these fans attacking each other, cutting each other's throats, stabbing each other in the back, laying the smackdown on each console, just bashing and trashing each other like nobody's business. I mean, aren't we all grown up by now? This is not 2007 anymore. Alright, it's 2013. Alright, and all you people that were caught up in the console wars, you know, 5-6 years ago, dead that. You know, it's over. Nobody's gonna... I mean, who is immature enough to fall for this crap again? You know what I mean? This is 2013, alright? Nobody should be making fun of each other. Nobody should be dissing others' consoles, man. I mean, give me a break. How old are you? Alright, this is sickening. And I can just see it from 10 miles away, man. I mean, it's about to happen. Matter of fact, I can see it without binoculars. Alright? It's all the way... I can see it. A freaking... like, leap year. Or, how does it go? Time year? I don't know. You know that distance? You guys know what I'm talking about. Light year. Light year. That's the one. Duh. That was so obvious. But let's talk about the transitional period, because that's a particular time when it comes to these consoles. The 720 and the PS4. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about this current year. All right. Like I said before, this is gonna be that final year of the PS3 and 360 where they have prominent titles. Now I'm reading this info about the transitional period. Alright. Though prior console generations have normally occurred in 5 to 6 year cycles, the transition from 7 to 8th generation units has lasted more than 6 years. Alright, yeah, that's interesting, but you know what? Consoles actually last a little bit longer. Alright? And I mean, yeah, 5 years would be the average. Back in the day, it was Super Nintendo, the N64, that lasted about 6 years, alright? Genesis to Saturn lasted about 5 years. Alright, PlayStation to PS2, yeah, about 5-6 years. Closer to 6, probably. And that was definitely the average. And you would notice it as a kid. You would get that feeling where, okay, it's about time that we get a new system. But I always wondered to myself, why is it that's the case? Why is that? Why has that always been the standard? I mean, probably even in the 80s, which I never really experienced. Born in 87. You know, you would have like the Atari 2600, and then years later you would have the NES. Alright? I believe the NES, the original one, came out in the mid-80s. Alright? And then you had a bunch of other consoles like I guess the system before the Genesis. The Sega had, I forgot what it's called. I think it was called the Mega Drive. Or, no, the Master System. One of those ones. Probably the Sega Master System, I think. That's what it was. Yeah, there is a transitional period, but why is it always like 5-6 years? Like, how come that's the industry standard? How come that's the average? I don't get it. Why is it... How come it's not 10 years? How come it's not 2 years? You know, how come it's not 15 years? Is it that these consoles change so much in a matter of years that they evolve that quickly, and that computers and technology is always changing, that people don't have any patience, and then their consoles basically only last for 5 years basically because it's the technology. It's a reflection of the capabilities of that system. And it's to me, it's basically just a product of the video game boom. and the video game industry's rise. The fact that there's this consistent product, consistent creation of systems, consistent development and evolution of technology in home consoles. Much in the same way that PCs and computers continue to evolve and become stronger and faster and more just better. You know, I mean, computers are capable of better graphics now, so much more than 20 years ago, than 10 years ago, than 5 years ago. It's consistently changing. I mean, I guess you can provide the argument, well, they want to compete with the PC computers. You know, there's some sort of, there's a business behind it where they want to parallel the PC to a certain degree. It might not be the strongest and it might not match the PC 100%. But again, you have the 720 and the PS4 coming out, and the Wii U for that matter, that's sort of trying to have those awesome graphics, trying to have those HD current gen graphics. It's a matter of satisfying the fans, it's a matter of providing entertainment, it's a matter of keeping up with, for example, television technology. You know, HD TVs, making use of that widescreen, that HD 1080, 720, whatever, you know what I mean, that resolution. Taking advantage of that high-res look. I understand that, you know, and games do feel bigger, they get better graphics, the 3D has evolved so much compared to the mid-90s. I think it's just kind of strange that it's always like around 5-6 years, you know, maybe a little bit longer this generation, pushing 7 years. It's probably gonna last 7 years in this generation. But now, I mean, when you have the Wii U, the PS4, and the 720, how long is that gonna last? In my opinion, in my prediction, I think it's gonna last a little bit longer. I mean, remember when the PS3 came out, and they said this PS3 is gonna last 10 years, a decade. It's gonna last 10 years, man, from 2006. You can expect it to be around, being supported all the way to 2016. Right now, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if Sony will keep supporting it. I don't know if they were just bullshitting us the whole time. But given their track record with the PS1 and the PS2, I would bet on it that they would at least put out some games here and there, you know, even if it's like crappier ports of the current gen of that particular time. So, in that regard, I mean, I have confidence that these consoles will last a little bit longer. It's just that you kind of shake your head because in the next gen, now they're talking about that the graphics, it's not necessarily about the more powerful graphics. It's not about the hardware. It's about what you can do with it, the social aspects, the user experience, you know, being able to record shit for 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes or whatever, and then share it and edit it or whatever the hell you can do with it. You have Microsoft with their new Xbox that they tried to patent this thing that can record your movements on screen, kind of like a, I don't know, an iToy or something. So how long is that gonna last though? You know, that kind of hype. And a part of me is thinking, like, this kind of fear that I have is that, are they not focusing so much on the graphics anymore if the graphics really aren't a huge leap up from the PS3 and 360 era, where they would rather focus on these gimmicky things, these sharing bullshit that technically aren't available on the PS3 and 360, but they're just kind of like, almost like peripherals or side fucking bonuses, where they don't feel really next gen, but rather just add-ons, just bullshit that kind of like distractions, you know, side distractions, shit that you can kind of do on the side. Like, here, take a picture with a PS4. Here, record your shit with the Xbox 720 and upload it on YouTube right away. Again, I really can't judge the graphics. It could be the best thing in the world, you know, it could be amazing. But judging, like, with the Wii U looks good, but I mean, it's nothing too different from the PS3 and the 360 for that matter. There is a slight difference, you know, the Wii U looks cleaner, looks smoother a little bit, it just looks, dare I say, a little bit sharper. You know, I'm looking at these comparison videos, and it does look a little bit more smooth, the animations and actual resolution. But that's my point, is that it seems like maybe the Sony and the Microsoft are not trying too hard in the graphics department, because it's been there, done that, and at the same time, they might want to limit it in a weird way. It's like, okay, let's limit it, let's not push it too far and make it so next gen, because in maybe 5 or 6 years we can actually make a real console that's actually the fucking, like, really good looking ones that look very significantly different from the current gen. So my point is, it's almost like they're limiting us, and the only thing they're giving us are these fucking, like, recording shit on the system and the camera and stuff like that, as opposed to actual raw power. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. It's kind of like, well, if we're not going to get amazing graphics, or we're not going to get a huge leap up in graphics, okay, then we might have to wait another 5-6 years where we really do fucking crave it and we're hungry for it. We're like, oh my god, I want it right now. You know, give it to me. We're gonna have to wait all the way to 2017, 2018, 2020 until we actually get that fucking next-gen shit. Maybe I'm not explaining it too well, but I hope you guys get my point, or at least somewhat understand what I'm saying. The point is, it's kind of like, you know, back in the 90s, they had the Game Boy for years. The original Game Boy that came out in the late 80s, okay? And it was a 8-bit system, it was a handheld, it was a monochromatic fucking black and white system. And some of the games were really good, but the graphics were terrible, okay? It was complete garbage. It looked like shit, because it had no color. It used up like 4 batteries. And then they gave us, like, years later, like 96, not even 96, like 97, 98, we got like the Game Boy Pocket, and then we got the Game Boy Color. You know, like right within like years of each other, just like the next year we're getting a fucking new version of the Game Boy. Until in the early 2000s, like 2001, we finally got Game Boy Advance, which was a much... that was a real next-gen fucking handheld compared to the Game Boy. It was like a 32-bit handheld that ran 16-bit style games, you know, like Super Nintendo style, as opposed to the handheld NES 80s games that the fucking Game Boy ran. It was a real fucking next-gen system. So that's sort of my point, is that are we just sort of getting the Game Boy Color is the 720, is the PS4, instead of getting like a real fucking PlayStation Advance and Xbox Advance, we're getting just small upgrades from the PS3 and the 360 in the 720 and the PS4. Is that what it is? I don't know. I mean, I have yet to see it, but that I could make the same argument for the Wii U. Speaking of the Wii, they also mentioned the transition is also unusual, that the prior gen's best-selling unit, the Wii, is the first to be replaced in the 8th generation. Heh. It's unusual, but it doesn't surprise me, because bullshit-ass Nintendo with their fucking Wii is already outdated, man. It's been outdated since it came out. It didn't have graphics as good as the 360, which came out a year before it. Not nearly as good as the PS3, just destroys it in raw power. You know, I'm not dissing the Wii's games, you know, I'm not saying, you know, fuck the Wii or whatever. I'm just saying that Nintendo released a backward fucking system. It was inferior in terms of power compared to the competition, but it sold a lot because of the gimmicky factor, because it was cheaper, because it was accessible, it had a fucking different control, so it was more family friendly, I guess. A lot of people own the fucking Wii because they think it's like, whoa, look at this, it's so different. It's not your expensive fucking HD system. It's just, you know, it's a family-friendly thing, and I can pick it up and play it, and that's it. No, but the thing is, my point is that the Wii is so outdated that it's embarrassing to keep it going. Like, they're not even releasing games for the Wii anymore. You know what I mean? When's the last time they actually had a real fucking high-profile game for the Wii? It's been like a year, 2 years, you know what I mean? It's been a long time. They're not even really putting out games for it anymore. It's basically been finished. But it sold a lot because it's cheap. It's Nintendo. It's got a lot of popular mascots, alright? So the reason they replaced it right away is because the Wii U is an actual HD system, and they wanted to sort of compensate for that. Nintendo was like, oh, well, we've given them this fucking inferior shit for the past 6 years, so here you go. Here's a new system now that's just catching up to the PS3 and 360. The Wii U, you know, it's kind of a dick move by Nintendo, but what are you gonna do? See, that's the thing. That's my point with the Wii, was that the Wii to me was like the Game Boy Color of the GameCube. Not that much better, but a little bit more, because again, small improvements. Like the Wii, the original Wii was a little bit stronger than the fucking GameCube. But you can argue that it was just basically a fucking, it's a GameCube with gimmicky controls. Oh my gosh. Anyway, both Microsoft and Sony have stated they've begun looking at their next iteration of consoles, but consider themselves only halfway through a 10-year life cycle for their current 7th generation offerings. Yeah, halfway, my ass. Again, I think this is the final high-profile year of the current gen. What the fuck are they gonna do? It doesn't make any sense for Microsoft and Sony to keep supporting the 7th generation. They don't do that. They don't really do that. They'll release inferior ports, or just, you know, like shittier ports of like sports games and third-party games and stuff like that. You're not really gonna find like exclusive, high-profile games anymore for the PS3 and 360 next year, or 2 years from now, definitely. They're not gonna be. They're gonna be a lot less focused on that stuff. I mean, look at the PS2 in 2007. By 2008, it was done, practically. God of War 2, God of War 2 in 2007. That was like the last high-profile game. Maybe Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4, maybe like in Japan and maybe a little bit of North America, but even that, you know, coming out like late 2008-ish, something like that. So very, very few, you know. So by 2007, 2008, the Xbox was dead. The original Xbox was gone. The GameCube was fucking done by 2006. Well, but yeah, it was 2006. I love this too. Sony and Microsoft representatives stated that the addition of motion controllers like Kinect and PS Move have extended the system's lifetimes. Extended? Are you fucking kidding me with this? Extended? What are you talking about? Extended? Not really. Do people own the fucking PS Move? Do people like the Kinect? It's shitty ass fucking gimmicky bullshit that's meant to counteract the Wii. You know, it's cashing in on the Wii's demo. It's retarded, man. I don't think it extended the life cycles of these systems. I think it gave us a gimmicky fucking bullshit thing that didn't really do anything to add to the overall value of the system, but rather just, it's a distraction. It's a fucking distraction, that's all it was. Extended my ass. If it ever did prolong the life cycle of these fucking systems, the lifespan, it was on some artificial bullshit. Shallow cash-in, and that's all it was. And then we also have this. Sony considered making its next-gen console a digital download-only machine, but decided against it due to concerns about the inconsistency of internet speeds available globally, especially in developing countries. You know what, Sony? Fuck you, man. You don't give a shit about developing countries anyway. I mean, give me a break. You don't fucking release that shit in other countries. Sony only puts out their shit in, like, fucking rich-ass developed countries, you know, Western countries, you know. Countries with actual money, that's all they give a fuck about. Not saying it's stupid, but it's concerns about inconsistency. Fuck that. No, but this is the point. It's like, this is the dick move that Sony is... They've actually considered this. Making the PS4 a download-only fucking system. I mean, I guarantee you everybody's gonna be fucking anti that, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of gamers are probably gonna be put off by that. You know, they're not gonna buy that shit. I wouldn't buy a download-only system. Are you kidding me? Fuck that. Garbage. Hell no, I wouldn't even consider buying that shit. I don't care what games it has. The PS4, if it's only DLC, DL fucking games, I would never fucking buy that. What's the point? I'd rather be a fucking PC gamer if that's the case, you know? I mean, give me a break. And the inconsistency of internet speeds, oh, that's bullshit. I think downloading games, it's best reserved for, like, smaller budget fucking games, indie games, and DL games, like downloadables, you know? Just games like fucking Trials and shit like that, you know? Just smaller games that take up less space. Because, yeah, it is a concern. The internet speed is a concern. I get it. You know, my online, it fucks up all the time, you know, losing fucking access in the middle of a download that would be a complete bitch. So, I understand that, but the fact that Sony even considered having a fucking DL-only fucking system is ridiculous. They should be ashamed with that bullshit. I mean, my god. And that's the scary part, is that could be the future of the 9th generation, the 10th generation systems. You know, 20 years from now, is everything just going to be downloadable? No more hardware, no more fucking hard product. Nothing. It's just going to be no more discs, no more cases, no more retail games, just fucking downloadable games only. That is going to be so fucking terrible. Awful, awful future. I don't think I'll be a gamer by then. I'll just fucking stick to the old games, you know what I mean?